Hello all. So in today's class we are going to discuss about displacement measurement devices. So at first, relative displacement, translational and rotation. So what is relative displacement? It is the displacement of a particular quantity with respect to the displacement of some other quantity. That is relative displacement. The method of relative displacement is the basis of many transducers for measuring pressure, force, acceleration, temperature, etc. And in this method, for measuring the translation along a line, that is for measuring the movement along a line, then one point relative to another is considered. That is for measuring the displacement along a line, then in such measurement we will consider one point along the line, one point which is somewhere in the line with respect to some other point. And by this concept the measurement is doing while measuring a movement along a line. Okay. Similarly, for measuring plane rotation about a single axis, in such cases we will measure one line relative to another. Okay, that is, we are assuming that one line is rotating by keeping its one end fixed along a plane, so we will get plane rotation. So for that we are measuring such cases, such plane rotation, then we are considering one line relative to some other reference line. Okay, so that is relative displacement. So for in each case we need to know what is displacement along translational means in a straight line, and rotational means it is in a rotating displacement. The movement is in a rotational manner. Okay, so for that we have various measuring devices for measuring displacement. Then so that first one we have resistive potentiometer. So what is the working principle of this resistive potentiometer? If a body that moves from one point to another point in a straight line, then the length between those 2 points is called displacement. And the transducers to measure the displacement are the devices which we are going to discuss below. So in that, first one is resistive potentiometer, and a resistive potentiometer consists of a resistance element provided with a movable contact, and the contact movement can be translation, rotation, or the combination of two. And you can see the circuit diagram. You can see the circuit diagram of the resistive transducer over here. This resistive transducer is used to measure the translational displacement, okay, not rotational. This above figure is for measuring translational displacement. And in this figure, from this figure you can see that there is a potentiometer, that is, there is a resistance potentiometer, that is a resistance with a movable contact. Okay, and the movable contact point is C, and this is this arrow mark, this is the movable sliding contact, and the two endpoints of the potentiometer is A and B. And you can see a voltage source Vs over here, which is connected across A and B in parallel with the potentiometer. Okay, now you can and the output voltage V0 is measured across the point A and C. Okay, now this arrow mark, this is our movable handle or sliding contact. Okay, so this is varying. When this movable contact is varying over from A to B, the point C also varies from A to B. Okay, so depending upon that, the voltage across A and C will also varies, that is, the output voltage varies. That is happening here. So how we are measuring the displacement by this device? The displacement which we need to measure is provided or is connected to this movable contact or to the movable sliding contact. As a result, whenever the displacement happens, the movable contact will slide over the potentiometer from A to B, that is, C varies in proportional with the displacement which we need to measure. As a result, V naught also varies. So V naught will get varied in proportional with our displacement. Okay, so here you can see this V naught is the output voltage and Vs is the input voltage. So the relation in this resistive potentiometer is V naught by Vs is equal to AC by AB. Okay, that is given over here. You can see V naught by Vs is equal to AC by AB. That is, V naught is equal to AC by AB into Vs. Now AC is the resistance value and it varies depending upon the moving of the sliding contact, and as a result the V naught also varies. So by this relation we can calculate the displacement, that is from the V naught. This V naught is measured by a voltmeter, connecting voltmeter over here across the points A and C, and the voltmeter reading will be proportional to the displacement. Whenever the body moves in a straight line, the point C also varies, and due to this the output voltage V naught also changes accordingly, and in this case we can find the displacement by measuring the output voltage. All this is in case of translational or in a straight line motion. Now in case of rotational motion, what we should do? In case of rotational motion, this A point, A and B, this potentiometer from A and B should be in a circular or in a round manner. Okay, you can see in the below figure here, this is a single turn potentiometer, first one, and the second one is multi-turn potentiometer. So from the single turn potentiometer you can see the center point. The center point is the starting point of the sliding contact. Now displacement is connected to this sliding contact. Now as the displacement happens, the sliding contact will slide over these turns of the potentiometer. As a result, the angle between the sliding contact and the straight line over here varies. Okay, now as this angle varies, the output voltage E naught also varies here. Okay, so that is happening. In case of rotational motion, the angle of rotation, which is the angle between the sliding contact and this line, will be proportional to the voltage. Voltage is the output voltage, as we have explained before in the translational motion. Okay, so this is the case of single turn potentiometer. Now in case of multi-turn, we will use this figure. So that is about resistive potentiometer. Now next one, for displacement measurement, it is strain gauges, resistive or resistance strain gauges. What is resistance strain gauge, or what is meant by strain gauge? It is a passive transducer that converts a mechanical elongation or a displacement produced due to a force into its corresponding change in some electrical quantity. That electrical quantity may be resistance, inductance, capacitance, or like that. And whenever an external force is applied to a stationary object, then what will be the result, or what will be the effect on that object? That is, some change will be the causing to that object, right? It is classified as stress and strain, and the stress is defined as the object's internal resisting force, and strain is defined as the displacement and deformation that is happening to that object externally. Okay, now that external effect that is produced in that object is the strain, and the device that will measure the amount of strain happen to that object is known as a strain gauge sensor. Okay, so a strain gauge is a sensor whose resistance varies with the applied force, and it converts force, pressure, tension, weight, or whatever the external force coming to it into a corresponding or proportional change in electrical resistance, and that electrical resistance can be measured in some other manner. Okay, that is the resistance change. If it is happening in a very minute resistance change, then low resistance measurement techniques can be used. And if the resistance change is happening in a wide range, that is high resistance changes occurring, then high resistance measuring method can be used there for measuring the strain. Okay, so usually for measuring the strain we are employing a metal piece which is subjected to a tensile stress. Now before using such a metal piece for a strain measurement, we should test its limits, that is how much force it can bear, what is the maximum bearing capacity of that particular metal piece, that and all we need to test and find out. Then only we can use a metal piece for measurement purpose. If a metal piece is subjected to tensile stress, then the metal length will increase, and thus it will increase the electrical resistance of the material. Okay, why it is so? Because length is proportional to resistance. So as the length increases due to the force which we are applying on the metal piece, if the length of the metal piece is increasing, then the resistance will increase. Whereas if the length is reducing, what will happen? The resistance will decrease. It is the same case in case of both the length and the width. Okay. Similarly, if the metal is subjected to compressive stress, that is by some external force we are compressing the metal piece, then what will happen? The length will decrease. As a result, the resistance will decrease. Okay, so that is it. Now if both these stresses, that is both this compressive stress as well as elongating stress, are limited, okay, so as I have told, we are, before using a metal piece for strain measurement, we should test it. As I have told, we should test it for its maximum and minimum limits of the compressive and elongative stresses. So, and we should find out the maximum compressive stress and maximum elongative stress of it. Then only we can find out the limit of that particular metal piece. And if the limits are measured, then we can use that metal piece for measurement purpose. And during measurement, we should only apply the forces such that the stress or strain of that metal piece is coming in between these limits. Okay, so that is it. And now let us move let us learn how we can measure the displacement by using the strain gauge. So usually the concept of resistive strain gauges is explained with the electrical resistance type strain gauge, which is a commonly used strain gauge. In an electrical resistance strain gauge, it is actually a device which consists of a thin wire made up of some metal, and it is placed on the material whose displacement is to be measured. And as the displacement happens, some strain should occur to the metal piece. And okay, so for that this metal piece is to be attached with that material. Now it is attached some type of cement or some joining material or some type of special cement. Okay, now you can see the figure of a type of strain gauge used. In this you can see there is a shaft over here, and a spring is wound over this shaft, and a cantilever beam is here, and above this cantilever beam you can see a strain gauge, that is two metal pieces or thin metal wire is attached by some sort of cement to the cantilever beam, to the both the upside and the downside bottom. Okay, so that is a strain gauge over here. Now as the displacement to the shaft happens, what will happen? The cantilever beam will get pushed towards the spring. As a result, the strain gauge will also get compressed. So that is why the strain will happen to the metal piece or the strain gauge. Okay, so as due to the compression, what will happen? The resistance will decrease due to the compression, and compression means length is decreasing. As a result, the resistance also decreasing. Okay, now it should be measured by some other manner that I will explain later. So that is the working of this. As the shaft is moving, the cantilever beam will get moved towards the spring. As a result, the strain gauge or the strain gauge material, the metal piece, say R1 and R2, will get compressed. Okay, in some cases both will get compressed, or one will get compressed or other will get elongated. So the resistance of that particular materials, both the top material and the bottom material, will get varied, and that variation in resistance we should measure by in some other manner, and that measurement by that measurement we will get the displacement. That measured resistance will be proportional to the movement in the shaft. Okay, so how we are measuring the change in resistance? So a commonly used method is Wheatstone's bridge. Wheatstone's bridge is a bridge used for measuring the resistance measurement. Okay, so here you can see first figure, you can see this symbol Wheatstone's bridge. It has 4 bridges, 4 arms is there, R1, R2, R3 and R4. Okay, so here all these 4 resistances can be replaced with 4 strain gauges. Okay, so in previous slide you have seen that there are 2 strain gauges, both one in the upper side and one in the bottom of the cantilever beam. Okay, so that is actually a half bridge. Half bridge means 2 strain gauge is active and the other two resistance in the bridge will be precise value of the resistances. Okay, now in this figure you can only see one strain gauge, so it is quarter bridge. Quarter bridge means there will be only one strain gauge and all the other resistances will be non value of resistances. Okay, so depending upon the variation in this strain gauge value, you can automatically detect the value of the displacement. Okay, that is the unknown value of the resistance, that is strain value, is easily measured by this bridge, and which will be proportional to the movement. In the next figure you can see all the 4 resistances is replaced with strain gauges. Okay, it is the case when there is 4 strain gauges attached to the movement. Okay, so in this case we will balance this bridge. So in the Wheatstone's bridge, what will be the balance here? How this bridge is working? You can see 4 arm, R1, R2, R3 and R4. Okay, so in this figure, when the R1 and R1 by R2 is equal to R3 by R4, then what will happen? When R1 by R2 is equal to R3 by R4, then no current will be flowing through the middle voltmeter. As a result, the voltmeter will be showing null deflection. That is the balance of a Wheatstone's bridge. That is when the upper arm resistances, the ratio of upper arm resistances become equal to the ratio of lower arm resistances, then the middle voltmeter or the middle arm will show no movement. Middle arm is having some sort of galvanometer, voltmeter like that will show null deflection. So that is the balance point of a Wheatstone's bridge. Okay, so when this balance or when the null deflection or the zero deflection is achieved in the voltmeter, then at that time what is the value of all the 4 resistances, we should note it down, and by applying the values of the resistances in the balance equation, and by doing calculations you can find out the unknown resistances. The unknown resistance will be placed in any one of the arm of the Wheatstone's bridge. Okay, either it will be one arm, either the unknown resistance will be two arm, and in these cases you can see all the four arms is replaced with the unknown resistances, that is strain gauges. The main advantage of the strain gauge type displacement measurement, it has a very short body length. That is, for measuring the displacement we are using the changing of the strain or changing of the resistance principle here, and the material we are using for this purpose is a metal piece, and the metal piece is a very small one. Therefore a strain gauge is a very small material. Okay, therefore for the measurement purpose a very big measuring device is not employed here. Therefore this type of measurement we require only a very short or a compact measuring device. And also while we are comparing it to LVDT, linear variable differential transformer, about which we will discuss in next session. Okay, and while comparing this strain gauge with respect to LVDT, then one of the main advantages is that in this strain gauge type measurement there is no effect of electromagnetic field. Okay, due to the effect of electromagnetic field there is a chance that our resistance value may change, but in this case no such electromagnetic field attraction or interaction is coming here. As a result it is somewhat more efficient comparing to LVDT in that point. Okay, so that is about the displacement measurement by means of electrical resistance type strain gauge. Okay, so that is all about this session. In the next class we will discuss about LVDT, linear variable differential transformer. Thank you.